That dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments, and I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead.
The sanctuary. It is a sacred place. It is a safe place. It's a place we come for prayer and praise. It's a place we come to escape from the harsh realities of life. Most of the time, the sanctuary is a place we come to be equipped to handle all of the challenges of life. Put it another way, the sanctuary is a good news table. There also is a bad news table. To get to the good news table, you have to go through the bad news table. Join me in a tale of two tables. A little different language. Paul tells them, before you come to the Lord's table, it's necessary to stop at another table, the examination table. You know, when you go to the doctor, there's a table there, and, you know, for your annual exam, it says, get rid of everything and let me look at you and examine you. A thorough examination. And that's what Paul says. Examine yourselves. Stop at the examination table. Conduct a thorough examination of your thoughts, your habits, your witness in the world around you, the nature of your community. Do this so that you might live as wise and not as foolish. Then you will come in reverence. Now, I said earlier that Lent is an extension of communion, and this Wednesday is the beginning of Lent. And it is a time of examination of who we are, whose we are, individually and collectively, so that we might be better persons, so that we might be a better people. So this morning, as we begin Lent, we have two tables. One you're quite familiar with. It's got the holy elements. We come to this table by the Lord's invitation. It's that invitation that makes us worthy. And then we partake of the holy elements, and it's right on front, in remembrance of Him, in remembrance of His suffering, His death, and His resurrection. Now, the second table, we're not as familiar. It's the examination table. In fact, if we don't go to the examination table, we might mess up, and then we come to this table, and we're drinking judgment. So for a few moments, we're going to the examination table. This morning, I want to ask if you will put that examination table right where everybody can see it. This is the examination table. And I promise you it's only going to be a few moments. I know self-examination makes you uncomfortable. That's why we don't do it so often. All right. Group self-examination makes you even more uncomfortable. And so there's some things that we don't look at. This past January 15th, was the 90th birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And on that day, by design, a think tank, the Institute for Policy Studies, released a report. And this report was a thorough examination of the wealth index, family wealth for blacks, Latinos, and Hispanics over the last 30 years, they tracked it. And what they found was that from 1983 to 2016, over that period of time, median black family wealth shrunk by 50%, meaning decreased by 50%. And let me explain. This was median black family. You know, it's not, we think in terms of average. But if you got a lot of, if you got some high-end numbers on the end and some low-end numbers, the average gets skewed and you don't get a true picture. But the median is the midpoint, 50% below, 50% above. So what they were saying is that the midpoint, from 1983, where black wealth was one thing, the midpoint actually went backwards, shrunk by 50%. Now today, median black family wealth is $3,600. Median black family wealth. For Latino families, median family wealth is $6,600 today for Latino families. Now for white families, today, median white family wealth is $147,000. Today. And then what they did was they looked. If you add 30 years, 2050, some of us, Lord willing, will still be on this side of Jordan, 30 years away. For Latino families, the projection is that it will be $8,600. In 2050, if nothing changes and the trend continues, for white families, the median wealth will be $174,000. Now that's not income, that's wealth. That means you take your income and your expenses and you subtract your expenses from your income, and what you have left is your wealth. That's your disposable income. That's what you can pass on to your children. That's what you can do the extra things with. So for Latino families, 2050, it will be $8,600. For white families, it'll be $174,000 of disposable income, wealth that they can pass on. And for black families, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, $600. Median wealth for black families. the disposable income, if nothing changes, that we will have in 2050 as black people per family. $600 to pass on to the next generation. That's the midpoint. Add another 30 years, 2080, and black family wealth will be zero. Median black family wealth will be zero. Now let me personalize this. When I read this, it became personal to me because it means that perhaps my children, but certainly my unborn grandchildren, will live in a world where black lives are literally worthless, worth nothing. You won't have to march and say Black Lives Matter. Everyone will know it doesn't matter. You don't count. Not in this society, not in this world, not on this side of Jordan. Now, I'm not talking about what the Lord, yeah, you count in the eyes of the Lord, but that's a problem. Now, why am I telling you this on this Sunday morning, communion morning? Well, I'm telling you this because I love you. I love you, my people. You turned my hair gray, but I still love you. And I'm not talking, I stay awake at night sometimes wondering and praying for you and others. Doesn't mean I got something against other people, but you know, your family. We're all part of one family. So I'm concerned. And if you love someone, you don't just let them go out the house looking like anything. You don't let them just do anything. Sometimes it's some difficult sayings. And this is difficult. But I do love you. And then the second thing is because called to the ministry was a call to preach and teach the gospel. Most folks know that. But it's also a call as a pastor to be a sentinel, to be a watchman, to look out across the landscape, across time, and if, as a watchman, I see something coming, I'm supposed to warn you. Warn my people, because if I don't warn them, then they can't prepare. And in Ezekiel it says, then their blood is on your hands. But if you see trouble coming, and you do give a warning, now they have the choice then to do something about it or not do something. And those that do something will save themselves, and those that don't, well, their blood is on their own hands. If nothing changes, then we are on a road to extinction. That's frightening. That's real trouble. And extinction means that we no longer have a witness. We no longer have a testimony. Nobody knows about us. Nobody knows what we've been through. It's only those who are the victors, the conquerors, that tell the story. We won't be here. That's if nothing changes. Now this this is not a good news table. And just put that over there. Let's move this table. I said, if nothing changes, well, how do you make a change? Well, you make a change, well, you know the slogan. We must be the change that we want. Well, how do you be the change? If you believe and if you have the will to change. And you change your will by changing your mind, changing what you think about, changing your habits. If you think differently, you behave differently. And this resource that we have, that's already been prepared, is a resource that our ancestors came to. And when they were written off, they made their way to Wash Harbors and other places to a table. A table where it says, do this in remembrance of me. We're not the first people that have been written off. We're not the first people that have faced trouble. We're not the first ones that look down the road and see we really got a problem. The inspiration, the changing is when we participate together in partaking of that which reminds us that if change is going to happen, there's got to be some sacrifice. There are no 7 easy steps. Nothing easy about this, but there was nothing easy about Gethsemane. In fact, it was so hard that Jesus had to pray 3 times. And when he prayed, he sweated so much that it was like blood dripping down. See, a lot of us want it easy. No, there's going to have to be some sweat. If change is to come, if we are to move off this road that leads downward to a road that leads upward, there's some sweat involved, some real sweat. It's not easy. And there's some sacrifice. Remember that blood. It cost him everything. There was suffering. Yes, you're going to be uncomfortable. Yes, you're going to have to stick with it. He had to hang on that cross for hours till the sun changed. And he was innocent. And yes, he didn't have a whole lot of help. But he did it not for himself. If you look at that table and those projections, if we're going to change, it's not for us. It's for our children and their children's children. So that they'll look back and say, there must be a God somewhere, because they were written off. They were going downward, but a change, something happened. What happened? They made their way and changed their minds. And it takes your heart, your soul, your mind, all the skills that we have, and pulling them together. This is not an individual thing. It's about us as a people and our children and our children's children. And if we do that, they will rise up and call us blessed. You've heard me say it before. We've come a mighty long way. We are blessed, but we're receiving the blessings of somebody else's prayer. They looked down the road and said that I'm going to walk and protest and not ride, not for me, but for my grandchildren. So that one day, someday, don't know when, but a change is going to come. And the change has come. A change did come. And in 2008, the unthinkable happened. African American was voted in as president of the United States of America. And he was voted in at second term. And he didn't get shot. Because we know all of our leaders before then, every time they rose up, they'd strike them down. The change. We must be the change. And we are in the midst of a backlash. There's an old spiritual. It said, walk together, children. And don't get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Walk together, children. Sing together, children. Pray together, children. Work together, children. The change will come because we have a God who is on our side, and he has equipped us and given us the skills, and all we have to do is have the mind to come together and realize there is one who sits high, but he looks all the way down to where we're going and blesses us, opens doors that no one can close, closes doors that no one can open. He's the God of our ancestors. He's the God of Nat Turner and Henry Highland Garnett and Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. He's the God of some nameless folks who've passed through so that we could be here and we could do differently. Those that have ears, let them hear.
I pray that you heard this message with your heart, your soul, and your mind. We believe that this message is one our people truly need to hear. So we ask that you share this message. Share it on your social network. Share it with your friends. Share it with your coworkers. Share it in the barbershop, in the beauty shop. And then join us. Join us this Lenten season through our weekly videos and daily blogs. We want to make this Lenten season one in which we change our mindset so that we become a vital and vibrant people, leaving a legacy for our children and their children's children.